game week for Fighting Tiger football. Welcome in to the LSU football press conference, presented by the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. This Saturday, your Tigers travel to Tuscaloosa to take on fourth-ranked Alabama. Coming up, interim head coach Frank Wilson discusses the latest on your Tigers and previews the week ahead. But first, from the Capital One studio, inside legendary Tigers Stadium, here are former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Don't know if we can say it any clearer. It is game week once again for LSU football. Welcome into the LSU football press conference. We get ready for LSU and Alabama. The Tigers head out on the road after their second bye week. Glad to be joined this week with Hunt Palmer sitting in for Gordy Rush, who is unavailable today. And Hunt, that's kind of the theme. We're going back to football now. Obviously, last week, it was a crazy week. I think we've covered the Texas A&M LSU game the last time the Tigers went out. 49-25 was the final score at Tiger Stadium, handing LSU their third loss of the season. But we come into this week, I won't say the dust is completely settled, but from a football perspective, Frank Wilson, now the interim coach. We'll hear from Coach Wilson coming up at 12 noon from football operations. It's now about getting ready to go take on a very good Alabama team, and we can get back to talking football.
Yeah, I think the biggest shakeups obviously are going to come on the offensive side, where Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, is no longer with LSU. So you've got a situation where you elevate Alex Atkins from his spot at the tight ends coach to be the offensive coordinator and play caller. And then you start to move a few pieces around. Frank Wilson, the running backs coach, has got head coaching duties now. Corday Hankton will fill in with the running backs there. And then you got Cortez Hankton, Brad Davis still there on the outside and on the offensive line. So they'll have to adjust to some new roles. Defensively, you kind of are where you were 2 weeks ago. Offensively, though, they needed the bye week to kind of get some roles solidified, and then they'll go into game planning this week.
You mentioned Alex Atkins, of course. I knew Alex when he worked at Georgia Southern. He was there with Willie Fritz, who's now the head coach at the University of Houston. Alex was a big part of the running game back then, and that was when Coach Fritz ran the shotgun-style option or triple option, which was a variation of the flexbone option Georgia Southern was known for years. But he did lead the country 2 years in a row with his running backs and his offensive line. So not a ton of time calling plays, let's say at the Power 4 level, but certainly knows how to call plays. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, Coach Wilson on Tuesday of last week during his first press conference, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but was serious when he said we're going to run the football. So it's going to be interesting to see. When you look at that, based on our personnel, I mean, again, we can go through the stats. We can go through game by game. I think we know up to and through Week 8 what LSU's strengths and weaknesses are. But from a running standpoint, do you think there are new schemes that we will expect to see starting this weekend?
I would expect to see LSU with a significant emphasis on the running game. How different the scheme is, that's something we'll just have to see. That's impossible for me to know. But I'll tell you one number to point to that I think will change. LSU, right now, there are 136 teams in the FBS, 136. They're 124th in rushing attempts. That's almost the bottom. There are only 12 teams in the country that run the ball less frequently than LSU. I expect over the last month of the season that will change. You saw a strong push in the first half against Texas A&M with Harlan Berry as the lead back for this team. You've now got Alex Atkins calling plays. He was the run game coordinator. He's got an offensive line background. You've got now the running backs coach who is the head coach. So I expect to see a significant increase in the amount of carries that LSU has moving forward.
I'm sure Coach Wilson will discuss it, probably be asked about it pretty early on here, although already in his press conference making it known that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the starting quarterback. I don't know that is groundbreaking news, but I wonder how much we'll see or even prepare a package. Again, switching gears with a Michael Van Buren just simply because of the skill set. It's without question they have two different skill sets. What do you think when it comes to the quarterback position? I know a lot of people shy away from a two-quarterback system. I don't think that's where we're headed. but do you see possibly mixing it up a little bit?
Possibly, absolutely. Frank Wilson said last week, Michael's got a skill set, and we're going to use the skill sets that we have at our disposal to try to win the game. And if you feel like he gives you a better look in the run game for this or that, or he gives maybe the Alabama defense something else to think about, that's just all something that you've got to take into account. Michael Van Buren has not played a lot for this LSU team, but he did start 8 games last year for Mississippi State. So you're not going to show him some kind of environment that he's never seen before. He played in Austin, Texas last year. He played against the Georgia Bulldogs last year. He's seen a lot in a year and a half of SEC football. So while Garrett Nussmeier is the starter, I expect him to be the primary quarterback for LSU. I would not rule out an opportunity for Michael Van Buren to come in and do something a little bit different here or there.
Coming up at 12 noon, we'll head over to football operations. Coach Frank Wilson will discuss this week. Certainly, I'm sure he's going to try to stay right there on football, talk about what they worked on in the bye week. And then now that it's game prep time, planning for a really good team in Alabama. You and I have been through this before, and as all of us have. And, everybody immediately points to what's the mood with the players. And ultimately, when it comes to Saturday around 6:44, when they kick it off at Bryant-Denny Stadium, that's all that's going to matter, is where the players' heads are. What are you hearing, and what do you hope you see come Saturday?
People are very resilient. They tend to look at things a little differently than older folks, more jaded folks like me maybe. They just want an opportunity to go play, and they're going to go out there in Tuscaloosa. There are going to be 103,000 people there. It's LSU in Alabama. It's prime time under the lights. They're going to be really excited to play. You look around the country at some of the programs that have moved on from coaches. UCLA was just, I don't know the way to say it, they were awful, and they let go of their head coach in Coach Foster, and they went out and won 3 games in a row. They beat Penn State. Then you look at UAB, just awful early in the season. Let go of Trent Dilfer. They go beat Memphis, who is in the mix for the playoff. You look at what you've seen from Arkansas. They haven't won, but they are playing teams off their heels. They went to Tennessee and were right there with an opportunity to win that game on the road. They're scoring a ton of points. So you've seen teams in transition go out there, play really hard, and even play some better football. If you're an LSU fan and you're over there in the football ops this week, that's your hope this week, that you go out there and play a little bit better.
Obviously, it helps when everybody is ready to go. And I'm speaking, obviously, of the health situation, which I know will also be a topic that Coach Wilson will address coming up at 12 noon, getting some of these guys back. And before we move on, go to break, and then we'll talk about Alabama, get a preview on the Crimson Tide here in 2025. I haven't had a chance to talk with you. I'm typically in the press box, and you're either here or out at Tiger One. How big a loss do you think, again, not putting everything on one player, but how big a loss defensively from a playing standpoint, a talent standpoint, and a leadership standpoint? How important is it to get Whit Weeks back on the field?
It's a big deal. I can't put a number on it. I can't tell you exactly this play would have happened differently or that play would have happened differently. This is a guy that was second in the SEC in tackles last year. He's the captain of your defense, right there alongside his brother in the middle of the defense. He's as productive and as outspoken a player as there is on that defense. And so to take him out of it, it absolutely plays a factor. And so we'll see what Coach Wilson has to say today about Whit's availability. He spoke last week saying that they were getting some good news and things were moving in the right direction from that bone bruise. We won't know, and my guess is that you'll see some sort of questionable or probable designation for him moving forward on Wednesday. But if they do get him back against Alabama, yeah, it certainly helps that defense.
Well, I go back to the fact that when you talk or hear from the coaching staff in 2 weeks' time with Whit Weeks unable to play, they talked about having to find that green dot.
Yeah.
And they moved it around a couple of times. And to me, that's almost as important, that Whit Weeks provides, just the leadership of pre-snap, where they're supposed to be, getting set, making sure the fits are correct. I think that's also been lost just with the experience that he has.
No doubt. And you look at the offenses that LSU has played the last couple of weeks. I mean, Vanderbilt runs very slowly, but there's a lot of assignment football you've got to play on defense to deal with the pressure they put on you. And certainly Texas A&M is playing as well on offense as anybody in the country right now. And they put a lot of stress on you with the mobile quarterback and what they do up front. Now you look at Alabama, and we'll talk about them as you move forward, but they've got an offense that is humming. It's a little bit different. It's mainly through the air. But you need to be on the same page. You need to be lined up, and you need to be taking care of your assignments. And we've seen, it's just a stark contrast from the numbers that LSU put up with Whit Weeks on the field and what's happened when he went out.
Well, we'll find out. Again, the Tigers 5-3, now under 500 in SEC play at 2-3. They travel to Tuscaloosa. They take on Alabama 7-1 and 5-0. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, again, leading you up to 12 noon, Frank Wilson will take the podium at football operations and set the tone for the Tigers this week and take questions from the assembled media. We'll say this, after week one, everybody thought Alabama was over with. That's not the case, and those who thought that were dead wrong. We'll find out what Hunt thinks about Alabama as we lead you up to 12 noon and the LSU football press conference right after this.
In Louisiana, we love our LSU Tigers. When the band strikes up those 4 iconic notes, the fans go wild. At Louisiana Blue, we're Tiger fans too. That's why we've teamed up with LSU Athletics to bring you the compassion of the cross and security of the shield, so you're free to wear your stripes and roar. Live Louisiana. We've got you. Louisiana Blue, Louisiana True.
Proud partner of LSU Athletics.
There was a time when a person's word was enough. A time when a handshake meant something, and integrity really mattered. For over 70 years, the values of Farm Bureau Insurance have been rooted in hard work, faith, and family. In that time, we've seen the world change in many ways. What hasn't wavered is Farm Bureau Insurance's commitment to protect our customers' way of life and serve the communities in which they live when they need us most. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at lafarmbureau.com.
I'm Richard Fontenot, president of the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. My brother and I grow rice, soybeans, and raise crawfish on our farm in Evangeline Parish. For a fourth-generation farmer like myself, Louisiana Farm Bureau is as much a part of my life as checking traps or harvesting rice. Our organization is more than 145,000 members strong, and we've been around for more than 100 years. The Louisiana Farm Bureau spans generations, and we want you to join our family.
Visit lafarmbureau.org. The Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, the voice of Louisiana agriculture.
Get ready, Tiger fans! Venture Global is proud to partner with LSU Athletics, powering Louisiana and the world with clean, low-cost, reliable energy and fueling the future of our great state. As we cheer on the Tigers this season, we're also driving innovation, creating jobs, and supporting our local communities. Together, we're building a brighter, more sustainable tomorrow. Venture Global, proud partner of LSU Athletics, powering champions on and off the field. Go Tigers!
Coming up, interim head coach Frank Wilson addresses the media from football operations. This is the LSU Football Press Conference, presented by the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. Once again, with a preview of this week's matchup, are Gordy and Chris.
Back here inside the Capital One studio. Coming up in, let's see, about 7 minutes or so. We'll send it over across the street, LSU Football Operations Center, as interim coach Frank Wilson will have the press conference as LSU gets ready to head to Tuscaloosa to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. You look at this Crimson Tide team, and as I mentioned before we went to break, everybody thought the sky had fell out after week one. Florida State manhandled two teams that went in totally different directions here in 2025. But there's a couple of numbers that stand out to me, and I looked at the SEC stats, Hunt, Alabama this year against SEC competition, and some things concern me. Number one, Ty Simpson is second in the league in passing yards. He has been superb since week one. This is a team that leads the SEC in time of possession. It is second and third down conversions. Those two things alone have been an Achilles heel for LSU in their 3 losses this season.
Yeah, it's a very clear identity for Alabama, and it's interesting to look at because they are a ball control offense. They, as you mentioned, lead the SEC. They're 13th in the country in time of possession, but they control the ball through the air. They're 17th in the country in completion percentage. They are 15th in the country in passing offense, and they don't do as good a job on the ground. They're 114th in the country in rushing offense, 116th in yards per carry. They don't run it a lot. They're 103rd in the country in rush attempts per game. So these are all in the hundreds. And that, when you think ball control, you think of a team that's going to run the ball. No, they just lean on Ty Simpson, who's not making huge plays through the air. He's just making the right play time and time again, staying on schedule. And when they get in the red zone, they are scoring touchdowns. They've done an awesome job at that. And you think about Ty Simpson, 1 interception on the season for the Alabama quarterback who's being asked to throw the ball a ton. He's been very, very efficient.
And again, pretty good receiving core as well.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's where you look at the matchups, you look at the numbers, and as you pointed out, maybe a little different statistically from the Alabama team that we expect that is standing at 7-1 and a perfect 5-0 in SEC play, but they're still getting the results they want. If I asked you this week, you're going to go out and oversee practice, and you're going to look at what Alabama's strengths and their weaknesses are. You're going to look at LSU's strength and weaknesses. Hunt Palmer, I put the coaching hat on you. What are you taking extra time and attention to this week to improve LSU's chances on Saturday?
If I'm LSU, you've got to come out and try to run the football. Alabama has struggled at times to stop the run. They're 95th in the country in yards per carry allowed defensively. Conversely, they're in the top 15 in the country in pass defense. So I'm going to try to run the ball. That kind of maybe takes the air out of the crowd in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That maybe tilts the time of possession in your favor a little bit and takes a little bit of pressure off of your offensive line to pass protect, which we know they've struggled at times to do when teams know that they're going to throw the football. So to me, I think it's running the football for LSU, and I think we talked about that at the top. They're going to have a commitment to that. They've got to do a good job with it.
All right. LSU defensively over the last 2 weeks. Obviously, they had trouble with Diego Pavia.
Yes.
Chances to get him down for negative plays, and more times than not, he was able to slip away and make a positive play. Same is true for Marcel Reed last time out against Texas A&M. We've already established that, well, Ty Simpson's a great quarterback. I don't think he's going to run up and down the field on you. So if you're Blake Baker in this LSU defense, what are you working on? What are you trying to improve on? What are some of the good things we've seen this year defensively that you have to have on Saturday against the Tide offense?
LSU is good in coverage. Mansour Delane's playing as good as anybody in the country at corner, and I think you've seen real maturation from P.J. Woodland and D.J. Pickett this year. So those guys had their hands full. Jeremy Bernard's great. We know Ryan Williams is an unbelievable talent. Isaiah Horton's a really good receiving option for Alabama. So they've got weapons out there. But LSU should be able to match up there. What you'd like to see a little bit more of for LSU is the ability to rush the passer. They just haven't done that consistently enough this year. You don't have to worry about Simpson as much as Reed and Pavia and Sellers and some of those guys. He is a good athlete. He's not an elite athlete that's going to burn you too often with his legs. Maybe get back there and force a bad throw or force a negative play with some pass rush. You've got some talented edge rushers. They just haven't quite had the productive year we thought they might to this point.
All right, so we're looking at an Alabama team where you know you're going to have to, again, try to get pressure on Simpson, make things uncomfortable for him. You've got a great group of receivers you're going to have to keep track of. Do you feel comfortable? I think I do, but I want your thoughts. You feel comfortable on not having to put extra numbers in coverage? You think you can have men on an island, which then may free up a guy like Harold Perkins or your edge rushers to get the job done?
I think you've got to do it, and I think that's what we'll see on Saturday.
All right, Hunt, we'll see you then. And let's now go to football operations. Here's interim head coach Frank Wilson.
All right, good evening, everyone. Start off by saying really pleased with the morale of our football team is extremely high right now as we wrapped up what was a bye week going into a weekend of non-play. Our team really came together during the bye week. I thought it was a time of reflection for our football team to look at the things that we had not done well and to correct those things. I think we did that to build our team with depth and youthfulness. I thought we did that. We then, of course, took the weekend off and came back on yesterday to now turn our attention to a very, very quality opponent in Alabama. And as we went out yesterday in this introduction of opponent, I thought our team really embraced mentally preparation for this team. It was a very good football team, and make no doubt about it. But I think we understand the challenges that are before us. I think our football team is eager to play in this game on Saturday against Alabama. We know what we're up against, and I think we'll have an opportunity to play our best football. That is the attitude in the building. I think it resonates from the coaches to the players, the support staff, where everyone's really excited about the opportunity to play again. And so as we turn to Alabama and you look at them as a team, Ty Simpson is as good as they come. You know, you look at someone who's 20-1 touchdown to interception ratio, an offense that goes as he goes, with quality receivers in Bernard and Williams, guys that can make plays, a quarterback that can throw the anticipatory throw into windows with good decision-making mindset, but also a guy who can run the ball when he need to. I think he can scramble, he can get yards when it needs to be, tough yards. And so I think that's a tremendous compliment for their football team. You know of Caden Proctor, the big offensive lineman who anchors their offensive line, that, you know, they do a good job in protection. They keep him clean. They run the ball efficient and do a good job there as well. And then when you look at them on defense, it's a typical Alabama defense. It starts up front. The interior guys, they're stout. They're knockback guys that play well from an interior standpoint. They have some steady guys on the edge that can pose problems for us and has posed problems for opponents. And they're good at the linebacker position. Skilled in the back end of secondary defenders that can make plays on the ball. But I like us. I really do. I like our football team. I think we're a talented football team. I think we have the potential to be a good football team. And I think Saturday night will give us an opportunity to put all those things together to play what is still yet our best football, which is ahead of us. So with that being said, I'd like to open up for any questions.
Hey, Frank, can you give us an update on Carius Kern, who left the game? Tyree Adams will still be out, I would assume, and maybe an update on Kern?
Yeah, so Tyree Adams is out. Carius Kern is questionable. He was here yesterday for the scouting report in the walkthrough of Alabama. He participated in it. We're hopeful. We're taking it day by day, but right now his status will be questionable. I'm not sure.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
How did your experience at McNeese as the head coach, going through what you went through there? You had, COVID, 2 hurricanes. Yeah. How does that prepare you to lead men at a time where they need a leader?
You know, that's an interesting piece you asked there, Jock, because for me, my history has been a startup program. My history has been a probation, COVID, Hurricane Laura, Delta, freeze, flood, get the job in January, play a spring season. And so adversity, troubleshooting is something that we've done well. I think we're prepared for this moment. I'm prepared for this moment to lead our football team, to lead our university, and to a better place than what we're currently in right now. I think right now our team is improving. I think we're a better team today than we were last week, simply because the student athlete, the players have bought into the things that we are trying to accomplish. First of all, they've acknowledged this is what we have done, this is what we have not done. And I think that's the first step. Once you acknowledge it, then you allow yourself to be open to constructive criticism, both for us as a coaching staff and for student athlete. And now we can move on. I think we have identified those things as a staff and as a team, and we've made the necessary steps to better ourselves. And so I feel confident in my ability. I feel confident in our staff ability and want to better this team, and certainly our student athletes who are eager and chopping by the bit to be prepared to play their very best.
Hey, Frank Wilson, from The Advocate. Could you give just a full injury report, like what weeks, anybody else who might be dealing with something this week that y'all are going to have to monitor?
So Whit would be questionable as well. The 2 questionable guys will be Whit Weeks and Carius Kern. Then we have the Tyree Adams long-term guy. And who am I missing here? That's the only recent long-term guy, right? That's the only recent long-term guy.
What's the plan
and Gabe
for
Relaford, of course, who's
right?
long-term.
What's the plan for Witt this week? What's the hope? Is he going to practice tomorrow, today?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to be that?
Yeah, we'll get him out there today and tomorrow. I'm sorry, we'll get him out there tomorrow to see what he can do and kind of measure it, and we'll build it as the week goes on based on his pain tolerance.
Hey, Frank, you talked about getting the coaches together and kind of looking, right, at what you do well, what you don't do well. I guess how were those conversations? How much last week I think you talked about holistically getting everybody together on the same page, those kinds of things. How much of that was beneficial for the staff that maybe didn't have a voice before that gets to have a seat at the table now?
Yeah, we're all shareholders in this, right? We all have stock in this enterprise, if you will. And so I think it was healthy for our staff to give them feedback, to receive feedback. And we talk about it all the time. For me and for anyone else, LSU is bigger than one individual. And so to have the ability to give each individual the autonomy to speak on how can I help you be the best version of you in your room, on your side of the ball. What are the things necessary, offense, defense, and special teams that we have done or that we need to do? And I think it's good, it's healthy when they're able to express themselves and we address those things, because I think now the buy-in is that much greater for the good of the team. Certainly there is still discretion that need to be taken into consideration. But, it's not like we did everything wrong. We did some good things, and we're building on some other things that our coordinators, our position coach thinks are helpful for them to be able to get their group to play at their very best.
Frank, are y'all wanting to get Michael Van Buren more involved? And can you also talk about the reaction from your players by bringing in all the former players last week? How much did they take in that as a positive?
Yeah, I thought they received it extremely well. And it was an opportunity for our former players. What we'll do on Thursdays, we call it the huddle up. Former players will come back. They'll walk through these hallways and be able to say, hey, that's where Dad position meeting room. And oh, look, that's your grandfather on the 1982 team there. Let's go out to the practice field. I practiced here. And we want our former players just to know that you matter. We want them to know that you're invested and you've earned the right to be a part of what we're doing and always will be a part of what we're doing. And so it was initially that. Naturally, emotionally, I felt a need to allow them to give them a stage to say a few words. They said a few words to our team and the limited capacity. But more than anything, it was the interaction. It was the fellowship that they were able to do, tying old with new to make it present and make sense for our team. And so I thought it went extremely well for our student athletes. I thought it went extremely well for our alumni as well and former players. As far as the quarterback position, as I spoke about, Garrett is our starting quarterback. We do think that Michael brings some special things to the table that makes the defense have to defend him as well. And so we'll look at the opportunities that present itself to him for us. And when they present themselves, we'll take advantage of it.
Hey, Frank, Glenn West, 24/7. Just a couple, if I may. Just coming off the bye week, have any players announced any intentions to you guys about potentially opting out of this remainder of the schedule? Has that been any conversations that you guys have had?
That has not been any conversation.
Okay. And then just, going back to last week, you talked about wanting to run the ball a whole lot more, I guess, going forward. You work with Harlan Berry as closely as anybody. Just the growth that he's had over this last month, can you speak to that and just what, that role is going to look like for him going forward?
I think one of the keys for victory for us is that we will have to be able to run the ball. I think it's something that you have to invest in. and you can't just talk about it and say you're going to do it. You got to do it, and I think it helps us from a passing game standpoint to be more effective. I think it helps in holistically complementing your defense as well, and I think we have talented backs that can do it. And so Harlem's growth has been one that's been continuous, ascending for our football team, but we had not made the total commitment to running it, whether it's Harlem, whether it's Caden, throughout the game. And when you look at as a unit, as a running back unit, when you run the ball less than 20 times, you make it challenging for yourself. And so we're going to try. We started off, I thought, in our last outing that we ran the ball effectively in the first half. Situation change, scenario change that, we kind of abandoned and went to the pass game. We're going to try to go into this game plan, into this game, intentional on running the ball effectively. And I think we'll be able to turn to both Harlem and Caden in that regard and sprinkle in some Jawan here and there as well so that we're able to run the ball effectively.
More coach questions for you. Just the workflow. Is Alex going to stay in the press box? Like, how do you think that's going to work? Will you be on headsets? Will you have some decision making there?
Yeah. We're going to kind of stay the same. Tim Rattay will go up. He had been down. And so that'll change for us. Everybody else will be in the capacity that they were in or location where they're in during the game flow. I'll remain naturally on the sideline with game management as the priority during that time frame.
And then just the defense. What have your conversations with Blake been like? The defense has obviously struggled the last couple of games for a number of reasons, but just where is his mind at, I guess, throughout all this, and what are your conversations with him? Have they been like?
I think he is a very, very talented coach who wants to contribute, who want his side of the ball to excel. And here's what I've said to him: you don't have to do it by yourself. We're a team. We're three phases of a football team, and the things that we need to do to allow our defense to get its swagger back, let's do those things. Let's incorporate these things into a practice setting. One of the things for him was, Coach, I need to see physicality in an inside run drill, if you will. You got it. We're doing it tomorrow. All right, so we'll get a little roughed up, if you will, and play inside run offense against defense so that we're given the best sample size. It won't be a full-out scrimmage. We're not doing those things in season, but we're going to mix it up a little bit so we can see speed and physicality that when our defense sees it on Saturday, it's not shocking because of the look you've gotten all week has not been realistic. And so there's been portions of the practice schedule that he has asked for that we're going to give him to allow us to simulate a game situation best. But he's been fantastic. He's all in. The defensive staff is all in, and we're going to give them those things that they need defensively to get their swagger back.
Frank, you talked last week about this sort of being the kind of thing that you dreamed of. When did you maybe first in your life dreamed of being in this position as the head coach at LSU in some capacity? And is it something that you would like to give yourself a chance to maybe be considered for the full-time position?
Yeah. So, as my career path started, certainly I was in Knoxville before I came here, and old Charlie Baglio gave me a call and said that Coach Miles wanted to visit about consideration in coming back to LSU. And so the reality of it happened then. I had been at other schools outside of Louisiana, but it was then 2009 when I got that call. And so the reality of it hit at that time. And when I came in, he and I visit, Coach did, and we talked about what it meant to coach at LSU. And I shared with him all the reasons why I thought it was the ideal job for a person who was born and raised here. And then the reality of it happened, and it was overwhelming. It was humbling. I was excited to be here at that time. And then, of course, it catapulted me with a head coaching opportunity when I left and went to San Antonio. And so in coming back full circle, came back to help Coach Kelly rebuild, to get us back in our rightful place. And I remember him asking me, because I didn't tell him initially, yes, I'm coming back. And he said to me, you would consider staying at McNeese as the head coach instead of coming back to LSU. And I paused and I said, that's a big job. That's a big job. And I have to condition my mindset to get back in the weeds, to go compete at a very high level, because that guy in Tuscaloosa, that guy in Athens, Georgia, coach, they'll rip your heart out. This was a conversation then. And so I just got to condition my mind, because the previous 5 years I had been a head coach, if I'm ready and willing to go do that yet again, because I know what it takes for that program to get back where we would like it to be. And so was up for it, still up for it, to get us back to our rightful place.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about Harlem. You started recruiting him in the 8th grade, is that right?
Yeah, he was an 8th grader.
And what have some personal things about him that you've gotten to know as you've
So, his dad and I went to school together. His dad was in a band when I played football. His grandfather is a musician, so they're New Orleans jazz culture to the max. His mom is a member of Zulu and all this great stuff. She went to Warren Easton. And in the courtship of Harlem, a lot of it was rekindling, reminiscing with his parents, and then observing him from afar. And from his sophomore year, he was in the state track meet as a finalist, state champion, or runner-up in those years. But he was going to a school that was not necessarily a football mega, if you will, and at St. Martin's. And so everything you were doing was a projection. Now, you knew what he had done in NORD, which New Orleans Recreation Department, kind of like our BREC. You knew what type of player he was then, going against the best players in the city at that time. So even though he was going to a school that wasn't necessarily a football powerhouse, you saw the flashes, the body movement, the contact balance, all the things that you look for in a dynamic student athlete or football player. And then you saw it on the on the basketball court. Then you saw it on the track. And so we went all in. We went all in, and he continued to be dominant and at St. Martin. And it just took a little time. He's probably put on 18 to 20 pounds since he's gotten here, since January. And so he is, again, ascending the way that we thought he would be. And I think he's going to be an outstanding football player when it's all said and done.
And one more quick thing. Is blocking the number one thing young running backs have to learn that keeps them in the game or gets them taken out of the game?
Yeah, well, playing without the ball, right? It's if you drew the analogy with basketball, there's some guys who are great shooters or scorers, but how do you play without the ball? Do you understand that pick and how to cut back door and how to jab up front and go back the other way? Do you play good defense? And so for the young player, when he does not have the ball, because they're all ball carriers, that's why you recruit them, but you're not going to always have the ball. And so what does that look like when a quarterback goes to his progression and you have enough awareness to get a great pre-snap read, post-snap reaction, to be in that spot and not in the backfield patting your feet, just looking around with no responsibility? You're already where you need to be. And what looks like a primary, you really are the check down, but it happens fast because of your football intellectual prowess. And so those things start to register. The things that don't get seen when it goes from run to pass, or the protection gets flipped and you're on the one side and got to end up on the other side. Playing without the ball and putting yourself in position to be able to attribute to the play design that doesn't involve you having the ball. just moving a backer or a safety or catching the ball or chipping or blocking that no one ever sees, that someone you can get hit and it appears as though, man, the line should have got that. No, that's the backs guy. You got to scan all the way back to get that. And so it takes some time for that portion of the game. They're all natural runners. So to answer your question, the biggest transition is teaching them how to play without the ball and be effective and make a difference in the game.
One quick follow-up on left tackle. If with Kerry is questionable, what would be the plan there?
We're working on it. We're working on exactly how that would look, whether that would be DJ Chester, whether that would be flopping Weston over. We have a couple of scenarios that we're looking at right now. Probably the most immediate thing would be is to put DJ Chester in at left tackle and do the things we need to do to allow him to play his very best.
And then I know last week you were asked about what the initial message to recruits were when you spoke last Tuesday. But how do you continue to build and finish a recruiting class when we're literally, it's 1 month today is the beginning of the early signing period with all the uncertainty?
Yeah, so for us, it's the 30-day countdown to signing day. It's funny you would ask that. And so we have a plan, a systematic plan in the responsibility of the primary recruiter, the coordinator, the head coach, and the support staff that will allow us to do that. For an example, tonight for me is to call the 27 class, right? For tomorrow, it's to call the 26 class. I've called all of them already. But then on tomorrow to call them yet again, at least 10 of them again. And then what will happen on Wednesday, we have our power hour where we pass the phone around. And that time is used for coaches, parents, and a student athlete we may have not gotten. The whole key is communication. And so to be able to speak on our behalf and not allow someone to speak on behalf of us is the most important part. When you're void, someone else steps in and say, hey, you hear what's going on at LSU? This is what I heard. Hey, this is what I know. And we tell our committed guys, you don't have to listen to that because you have a direct line to the source. And so we make ourselves available. We communicate effectively with both the student athlete, the parent, and the high school coach, which usually bodes well for us.
Hey, Coach, so Alex Atkins, he is in the press box for the game, right? Okay. And is he your closest thing to offensive coordinator, and why didn't you name an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, so he is the play caller for us. I think that in the capacity, he had served in the capacity of the run game coordinator. He'll assume the capacity of the play caller in this regard. I thought consistency and continuity was critical. I wanted to keep him with the tight ends so that he could still adhere to that because you're dealing with 1 to 2 people opposed to moving to another capacity of allowing. And so for our coaches, you're the head coach of your position room. So Brad Davis is the head coach of the offensive line. Cortez is the head coach of the wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera. And I think when we take that approach, it allows him to call the plays without trying to do more than what's being asked of him and allow us to be most efficient. Thank you, guys.
Coach Frank Wilson with the LSU football press conference as LSU now gets ready and heads to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama this coming weekend at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Again, kickoff set for 6:44. We'll take a final break, wrap it up after this.
All right. It's a beautiful day for football here at the stadium, and we're just about ready for kickoff. Score 0-0. And suddenly, I'm in the mood for a Coke Zero Sugar. Real Coke taste, zero sugar. Now that's a winning combo. Yeah, crisp, refreshing. That hits the spot. When it comes to great taste, Coke Zero Sugar's always on the scoreboard. Coke Zero Sugar. Real Coke taste, zero sugar.
There was a time when a person's word was enough. a time when a handshake meant something and integrity really mattered. For over 70 years, the values of Farm Bureau Insurance have been rooted in hard work, faith, and family. In that time, we've seen the world change in many ways. What hasn't wavered is Farm Bureau Insurance's commitment to protect our customers' way of life and serve the communities in which they live when they need us most. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at lafarmbureau.com.
Here's the deal. We gotta set ourselves up. See, retirement is the long game. We gotta make moves and make them early. Set up goals. Don't worry about a setback. Just save up and stack up to reach them. Let's put ourselves in the right position. Pre-game to greater things.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
For him, it wasn't the cancer that almost took his life. It was an infection his body wasn't strong enough to fight. Antibiotic resistance is a global crisis, targeting those who are already vulnerable and claiming over 1 million lives each year. But an LSU discovery is changing the game. Our unique biotech starves bacteria, stops growth, and gives the body a chance to heal. Because behind every breakthrough is a life worth saving.
Wrapping up this week's LSU football press conference, presented by the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation. But first, with some final news and notes, here again, Chris Blair.
Coach Frank Wilson wrapping up the press conference this week. Couple of big notes. Talked about the mentality and spirit of the team. They'll certainly need it when they travel to Tuscaloosa this coming weekend. Also big news, Carius Kern, the freshman lineman on the offensive side in Whit Weeks, as we sit here on Monday afternoon, still questionable, according to Coach Wilson. Hopefully that will change as we get deeper into the week, and we can update you coming up on Thursday. Yes, indeed, Frank Wilson will be on hand at TJ Ribs. The LSU football radio show will come your way at 7 o'clock live from TJ Ribs on Thursday night. Then on Saturday, we'll get everything cranked up at 4:45 with LSU Game Day. It'll be Hunt Palmer once again, along with Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite. They'll set the table and then hand it off to Jacob Hester, Gordy Rush, and myself inside Bryant-Denny Stadium for LSU and